here today with Paul Heyman.
Wait, start over. It was a little bit late.
Oh, okay. so you didn't get my interruption? So I got to do that again? Okay.
We're here today with Paul Heyman.
Paul Heyman.
Who wanted everyone to know that his eyes are red, not from hanging out with Rob Van Dam, but from the emotion of tonight's main event. What were you thinking when Brock was on the receiving end of?
I thought I would need a defibrillator. I thought it was over. I thought Josh Rosenthal made the most proper call that you can make. Josh had to talk with both guys in the back before the match, and his statement was, because he figured one guy's going to get pinned down, and then the punches are going to fly. And he said, it's the old wrestling thing where they hold up the arm, 1, 2, 3, and on the third one the guy goes like this. It was a wrestling moment, because that's exactly what happened. Josh said, I'm going to ask you 3 times. If you're not moving, and if you don't respond by the 3rd time, I'm stopping the fight. And he asked Brock once, and Brock just was covered up and either didn't hear him or didn't respond. And Josh said, this is the 2nd time, and I saw Josh go like this, and I said, oh God, he's not responding. And on the 2nd one, Brock said, fuck no. And I just saw Brock trying to pivot his way out of it, and I knew, okay, Josh's not going to stop the fight. If it was Mazzagatti, the fight would have been stopped. And oh God, it was as scary moment as I've ever lived. I thought it was over.
Did you sense watching it that Carwin was going to gas?
Yeah. Well, because as soon as they separated from there, I saw. See, Carwin's interesting because Carwin's whole thing is when they separate, he plants his foot, and and that's the whole thing. If you watch the tapes of Carwin, he plants his foot. So that short, like I'm going to hit him. I've had bad reviews for the next 3 years. But he plants his foot, so he's already on the swing when you're on the separation. That's how he tagged Gonzaga so hard, and he's so good on the separation. So when he didn't connect on a swing on a separation, I said, holy cow, he's gassed. And then as the first round ended, and Brock said, okay, I'm busted, but I survived that first round, and it was a hell of a round. And I saw Carwin go back, and he was like, I said, oh God, okay, they got him. And I saw Compredo come over the fence and say like this, and so Compredo saw it probably faster than anybody, and just said to him, "You got to choke him. You got to get into position to choke him," and that's what he did. They've been working. This is the 2nd time for Compredo, because Compredo came up with the half crucifix on Mir, and this was, and they should have called it the death clutch. I don't know why they didn't brand it the death clutch, but I didn't get to him this time. But that's what, and he got behind him, and that was it. Goddamn, Carwin's a tough son of a bitch.
You have to admit, last night, did I say what the key was?
Yes.
No, you didn't predict the right winner, but I did say when I saw how bulky he was, that could be an issue.
Right. I actually thought, my whole thing was I thought speed kills. I've just been watching him train this whole week, and he has just been so fast. And when he got tagged, I think it shocked Brock. I don't think he's ever been tagged like that in his life. But I think he answered a lot of questions on that tonight too. Does he have a chin? Yes.
Does he have heart?
Oh,
does he have heart? You can't just say, oh, he's a front runner bully. You can't say that.
No. Honest to God, he was on his deathbed 9 months ago.
Oh, now, speaking of that, how much of that? How has that changed him? Being on his deathbed, recovering from that. You know him better than most.
He seems more like a happy version of Brock.
I think he's more open to let people see that part of him. His whole goal has always been to be a good father. We became friends very easily. We were doing business together, and we got on a plane to go over to England for a pay-per-view. And I was sitting next to him, and we were about to have my first daughter. And his first wife was about to have his first daughter, Maya. And I looked at him and I said, so what are your goals? And you expect to hear the same thing from every wrestler. Oh, I want to be the champ. I want to be in WrestleMania. I want to make $10 million a year. I want $1 million in merchandise. I want to get $1 million a year contract. And he said, I'm going to buy my parents' farm away from them. I'm going to sell it at the right time. I'm going to move them closer to where I am so that they can be close to my daughter. And that was it. I understood that. Because that's what I did. As soon as we had my first child, I got as close to my parents as possible. So that was it. Boom, we were bonding. That's always been him. So I think he's just a little more accepting to let the public see that part of him, because before it's a very private man. He doesn't want anybody to see that part of him. It's nobody's business. He doesn't, now he's even willing to mention their names. Before he was like, don't mention names. I just think he's overwhelmed by this. Again, it's 9 months. I mean, legitimately 9 months ago, this guy was told he ain't gonna make it. I mean, it's been downplayed because who would believe it? But he was. I mean, he was on his fucking deathbed. And to come off of that, and then January 5th, he's told, you're back in. And everybody thought he's going to, and I thought he was going to take a year. I said, okay, cool, next Super Bowl. That'd be really cool. He goes, July? Against this guy? You fucking crazy, dude. You're 240 pounds. I'll be fine. And he was. You know, I mean, I spent the week with him in December, and he was starting to bulk back up. I mean, you could tell him. He was like, whoa, man, you know, you've been sick. It looked like he'd been shot. You know, I mean, just you could tell his health had been severely affected. And he came back from it.
At what point do you, or do you even know? I mean, did he ever tell you, I've turned the corner, I'm going to be the athlete I was before, or I'm going to be a better athlete than before? Or does he ever talk to you about that?
Oh, I mean, for the book, we've talked a lot about it. He never had a moment of doubt. You know, his answer was to bully his way through it. This ain't going to happen to me. No way. You know, and then the funny, well, not funny, the real motivation kicked in that when he came home from this whole episode with diverticulitis, he came home and his wife says, you know, hey, by the way, I have a doctor's appointment today. I'm just going to skip it. He goes, no, I'm going to sit on the couch and I'm going to try to get in a light workout. And she comes home and says, guess what? I'm pregnant. And he had just come home, you know, from the hospital, and he was like, that's it. I'm getting back in the gym, you know. And then he started to change his diet, and he brought in a nutritionist, and he started to research, and you know, he just started making phone calls to different doctors and saying, you know, I want to get all the research material that I can. He was reading 10 hours a day on this stuff, and he got a whole bunch of different holistic medicine. Who I don't understand why they don't sponsor him, because my God, they should, and he believes in it. And then he went in January 5th. I mean, I couldn't believe it. I said, come on, they gave you a clean bill of health. I'm ready to fight.
Now, when you talk about the private nature...
By the way, can I ask you a question? How come you always start your hotline with, hello, everybody, it's Bryan Alvarez here.
I heard from him 10 years ago.
Okay.
Just carrying on.
I just always like that. It's like, and hello, everybody.
How's it going, Paul?
Yeah, it's a real, you know, radio thing.
That's
anyway,
right.
I always wanted to mention it.
Sure. Now, moving on here, you mentioned him being a private person.
That means shut the fuck up.
Well, I know you've got a limited amount of time here. We can talk about my intros. If you...
No, it's whatever you want.
No. He mentioned the book.
I don't know if anybody's going to be interested in it, but anyway, go ahead. Yes.
You mentioned the book.
Yes.
You mentioned the private nature of it.
Right.
So, when he's writing this book,
Right.
obviously, if it's going to be an honest book, there's going to be a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Now, has there been anything that you said, we got to tell the story, and he says, no, hold on a second. This is, he's open about everything.
Yeah. You know, he pretty much is. You know, I mean, as with any book, there's a lot of ground to cover, and a lot you're going to end up leaving out just because you only have 265 to 295 pages. You know, and, you know, it's not 1,000. It's not a Bret Hart book. You know, it ain't gonna be 1,000 pages, and it ain't gonna be about every single moment of his life. And then I went to Saskatoon, and I had this match, and I was thinking to myself, it's not that, you know. But he's very open in the book, and he's very open about a lot of things in the book. He's very open about his personal relationships, and he's very open about his college days and what went wrong in his college days, and things that went right and things that went right and wrong, both on his end and on Vince's end in WWE. So I mean, it's a very honest book. I mean, it's like anything else in his life. If it ain't going to be first class, and if it's not going to be the best one out there, he doesn't want to do it. I mean, it doesn't matter how much money. I mean, again, they did a $4 million gate tonight. Hopefully they did north of 1 million pay-per-views. It's not like he's not making good coin doing this. I mean, his payroll alone on his training staff is enormous, and he's making that payroll. So, I mean, it's not like he needs the cash. You know, he wants to do the book now because he feels like it's a good time to tell the story and to make a lot of money. But he's not going to just take the money and do a second-rate book. He wants that book to come out and people say, God damn, that's the best book I've ever read on someone like this.
But actually, that begs the question. This would be like a great ending because he had all the problems, he came back, he won.
It is.
Now, what would have happened tonight if round one had gone differently?
Oh, we don't think about those things.
Don't think about those
No.
It's good to have a positive attitude.
Oh, well, yeah, we do. It is now because I sure didn't have one in about 3 minutes into that first round.
No, I don't think. Oh, yeah.
Well, we got to talk. Your future. What's your
Thanks, Dad. I know, Dad. I'm trying.
Where's your head right now as far as what you're doing next?
Next, I'm writing the book with Brock Lesnar. My God, man, don't you pay attention to the press conferences? I don't know. You know, it's a very interesting situation. As you heard me say, I think the wrestling business is in a severe decline. I think a lot of it has to do with the momentum of UFC. UFC is now definitely part of the culture. Wrestling is not cool anymore. A lot of that has to do with the fact of how cool UFC is. MMA is not cool, UFC is cool. MMA is not part of the culture, UFC is part of the culture. They have made themselves the NFL. And then some, you know, they have made themselves, you know, the World Cup, and then some. Pro wrestling has not only UFC to blame, but themselves to blame. You know, Vince is a master marketer and has survived all of these turbulent times. That company's always going to do well because they have so many different revenue sources, and they have a public stock. And until Vince keels over, and I'm not predicting that he's going to keel over anytime soon, Stephanie, so please calm down. Until Vince keels over, that stock is going to stay in the 16 to 18 to 20 range, and it's going to drop down to 14 sometimes, but it's always going to be in that range because they are a very, very smart corporation. Not the best in politics, but very good as a corporation. So, as for, you know, still that company has not made new stars. Last big new star that company made was John Cena. Randy Orton has become a big wrestling star, but general public doesn't know who he is. And that's a shame for Randy Orton because he does deserve it. He's the most charismatic guy that's come along probably since Brock or Austin or The Rock. Cena became a mainstream star. Look how hard they pushed for Sheamus, and he's kind of okay as a wrestling star, but if he main evented WrestleMania, they wouldn't have done $650,000. So they can't even get a guy like that with that kind of momentum, that look, and that level of progression over. They have themselves to blame for this. 64 years old, and sits in a room with a bunch of people who do not know anything about pop culture. They have no finger on the pulse. They don't know what's cool. They don't know how to make themselves cool anymore. And you know, I'm 44. I consider myself very old. I listen to my iPod. It has James Brown, the Big Payback, and it has the Rolling Stones' Let It Bleed. My kids come by, and I immediately switch it to Boom Boom Pow because otherwise they're going to go, Dad, you're so old. And that's the point, you know. Vince the grandpa, and he's doing grandpa programming. And he's the leader of the industry. TNA doesn't have a fucking clue as to how to make a star. And even if they didn't know how to do good television, they don't know how to market the fact that they're doing good television. And if they would market what they're doing now, everybody would say, "Oh God, they suck. Why are you marketing this?" So it's kind of both. You know, you have to give them a great product and then have a platform to brag about having a great product. So if anybody was in there and just says, "I want to be the booker, I want to be the head writer," they're fooling themselves. That's not the answer. But if you say, "Well, I got the answer. You write whatever you want. I'm going to show you how to market this. I'm going to show you how to brand yourself," you're branding shit. So you have to do both, and you have to bring both together. And so either someone has to go in there, and it doesn't have to be me. It can be Velvet Sky for all I care. But someone has to have one vision, and you know, and it's the line from The Godfather 3: "Our ships must all sail in the same direction." You know, and someone has to get on point so that the television show means something, and the marketing of the brand means something to at least get it over to the public that it's worthy of not only your attention but worthy of you spending $1 to see it.
You're 44 years old?
Yeah, no shit.
Okay.
Thanks for reminding me.
Okay. Now, 17 years ago, when you did the thing with ECW,
right?
You know, you're in your late 20s.
Right.
Okay. No kids.
Right.
Okay. Totally different time in your life.
Right.
Okay. If the thing comes, you're going to work just as hard.
Yes.
As that period.
Yeah.
You know, day and night.
Yeah.
And even harder in a sense because you've got to take something out of the grave as opposed to create something. Create something.
Right.
Yeah. Right. You know. What's it going to take, and are you willing to make that change in life?
My change in life is this. Vince McMahon has 90 to 95% market share in the pro wrestling business. That leaves TNA 5 to 10%. That doesn't mean they're worth a lot of money. They may have sunk a lot of money into it, but those are sunken costs. TNA has to create a situation where they can take their company and in 3 to 5 years take 10% of the market share away from a then 74-year-old Vince McMahon. So if you can take I think you need to take 10%. Take 10% of the market share back from Vince McMahon. Then you have a situation where you have a $100 million company. If you take that $100 million company into an IPO, it becomes a $275 to $300 million company. If you have a Dana White deal and you own 10% of that, you now have $25 to $30 million. That's something I can look at my children and say, I'm going to spend a lot of time working, but boy, am I going to set us up for life really freaking soon. if it's that type of a deal, where I think I can, in my heart, where I can take a company like that and I can get the right people and the right team and the right staff and the right outside people involved to turn the company around with Spike TV, with pay-per-view revenue, or getting off of pay-per-view and finding another revenue source, then you have a situation where, okay, 10% of this, or 12.5% of this, or 7%, or whatever the deal could possibly be, and then also have a piece of an IPO, warrants on the stock in case that happens. Then it's interesting enough to sit there and give it some real serious consideration, because there's nothing I'm doing now that's going to pay $25 to $30 million over the course of the next 5 years. Hopefully it's going to pay a lot, and some of it may be some million or multi-million dollar deals, but ain't nothing going to pay $25 to $30 million. If that's a situation that can happen, and I can honestly put the right pieces of the team together, and I can look at it and say, okay, what is our 5-year plan here, and what's the way to put it all together, and the right pieces to put together, it merits a lot of consideration. If it's anything less than that, I'm not taking the time away from my children. You know that. You know that. I will. I mean, seriously. Where is it? I walk around all week crying over this. This is the picture that I talked about. That's how that's how he got me the big lug. That's how we started our week. That is Brock Lesnar's daughter Maya and my daughter Azalea at WrestleMania 2003 in their strollers, saying, "Hey, we're friends."
Wow,
and that's how he started the week. He said, "I got something for you, and this will be my only mushy moment of the week." And he sat there, and there's a tear rolling down his face, and he hands me this. I'm not taking time away from my children at any price to fail, and I'm not taking time away from my children unless it's really, 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 really worth it. For that kind of price to ensure their future, it's worth it.
Do you think you're going to be able to? I mean, you've talked with them. We know that. We know they want you at the next pay-per-view.
That ain't happening.
Okay. I mean, do you think that you're going to be able to get close to that deal? I mean, when you talk about it, I mean, like, what are they saying? What are they coming up with? I mean, and again, you've got a lot of interference. There's a lot of big names there.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people with a lot of experience there. And ultimately, if you have a whole bunch of people arguing,
There's no moving parts there.
Yeah.
There won't be. And let them try it. Good luck to them. And I hope it works out for them. If Eric Bischoff can turn it around, then God bless Eric Bischoff. Then he deserves all the credit in the world. His time is very limited for them. He has a lot of other projects on the table. I don't know if he can pull it off. I don't know that he can't pull it off. But I don't see that it's happening. If Hulk Hogan can make it happen, I don't give it's velvet sky. Somebody needs to step up and say, here's a direction. They have too many different directions. As for any kind of negotiation, I didn't call them. I'm not looking to get back in the wrestling business. If I was, I wouldn't have left Vince McMahon. I would have sat there and said, okay, listen, I will take a consulting job. I mean, all the different times that they've called me and said, would you just like to send in a report on TV? And you could make 6 figures just sending in a report every Monday and tell us your thoughts. And you don't even have to deal with Vince. Just send it to John Laurinaitis, send it to Stephanie, send it to JR. I don't want it. I didn't pursue the wrestling business. They came back after me, and I said, these are the terms that only terms that I would consider, because they would be so lucrative for my family that I would be a schmuck to say, no, not interested, because I have nothing to do with the wrestling business. I don't care, with the exception of like porn, just because I don't know how to justify it to my children. I don't know an industry that I would say no to if they came up with a deal like that. As for them saying, well, we'll give you some of this, but not all of this. Hey, my attitude's take it or leave it, And I'll say to the public, my attitude is real simple. My attitude is, it doesn't have to be me. And I told them this. I said, don't make it me. Make it somebody else. Make it somebody for your own benefit. And I'm not interested in consulting. I'm not interested in doing, just being a cog in the wheel. Because it's too emotional for me. I love the industry. I love building characters. I love developing new talent. And if I'm going to put my emotional investment into it, I want to get something out of it, financially and emotionally rewarding. If there's a whole bunch of moving parts and I got to spend my day playing politics, I'm not going to get the job done. I'm going to be a failure at what I do. I'm going to go home to my children pissed off, and I was going to go home to my children pissed off. I got 20 minutes up the road to Stamford, Connecticut, pissed off because I don't like Vince and Stephanie. And it'd be the same thing, and I'd probably make more money with them doing it. Because I would end up failing in TNA and not getting to the IPO and not making $30 million. And I'd sit there and go, God damn it, why did I get back in? I'd end up like Cornette. Anyway. God damn! Dave, what the fuck did he say now? Yes, sir.
Thank you very much.
You are a smoker, come on. Oh, come on. Stop.
I'm as straight edge as they come.
Oh, stop. Very serious.
It's good to see you. Always a pleasure.
Thanks again.